Hey guys, it's Brian back at you with another video where my goal is to mentor you to a rewarding career and to help you create a life you're proud of. And if this is your first time here to this channel, please click the card above. Submit your questions that way and I'll answer them, whether it's about career, about relationships, about life. I'm here to help. Now today I want to talk about privilege, and I'm sure many of you have seen this viral video where a teacher lines up all the students on this grassy field and he asks certain questions related to privilege. And if the answers are yes, the students get to step a couple steps forward to reach the goal. And if the answer is a no, the students stay put. And some of these questions could look like, are your parents still together? Do your parents have a formal education, etc., etc.? And the point being here of this video is that certain people have certain advantages because of the socioeconomic status that they have, and as a result they have a better shot at getting a stronger network of people so that they can get better jobs or that they can get a better formal education and that they can afford to do so. It's a very important discussion to have, but you also see it beyond socioeconomic status. You also see this conversation around race where you hear about white privilege and how the white person has this status that is automatically assumed, and as a result people find them more attractive or they feel that they are more trustworthy, whereas someone that is of color, such as myself who's Asian, or if you're African American, or if you're Hispanic, you don't have that same assumptions made about you. You don't have that same status, and as a result you don't have those same advantages. To a certain extent, I understand the importance of this discussion, and I understand the value and the need for this type of discussion, and that privilege really does exist and we have to find ways to solve that problem. On the flip side, however, when you look at privilege or the concept of it, it is a gross generalization. And I don't say that in an insulting way. That is just the reality of it. Just like any other sort of science, you're analyzing a subset of a population, figuring out the patterns from that, and then generalizing it across all the subjects of the entire population. That's normal, that's what we do, that is science. But when you're looking at it at an individual level, this is where you see a lot of this stuff breaks down. And in fact, when you're talking about privilege, it really offends a lot of people. Take, for example, the white person who is supposed to have this white privilege, but if this white person came from a small town that grew up with 10 other siblings where the parents were broke, this white person has no privilege from a socioeconomic status. This person has to work really hard, probably doesn't have the opportunity to have a formal education, can't get a high-paying job, and can't make it out of that town. And when he hears about white privilege, he's probably thinking at his level, what privilege are you talking about? I had to claw my way out of that, and even now to this day I can't make ends meet. So the whole white privilege at an individual level can be very offensive, and as a result it's personal to them, and they know that it doesn't exist in their world. So how could it exist outside? And those that are coming from the opposite end of that spectrum of that discussion, they're both right to a certain degree, but that's what makes this so difficult to resolve and so polarizing. And if you look at it from my perspective too, at an individual level, yes, I'm not white, so therefore I don't have this white privilege. I didn't have rich parents, I didn't come from a rich home, but at the same time I'm 5'11". At the same time I'm very good at relationships. I can talk to people, I can connect with them. So those are my privileges in a sense. I was born with this uncanny ability to do that. I was born taller than the average man. And other people can look at me and say, well, yeah, of course that girl is going to talk to you. You're tall, I'm short. Like, at the same time, like, I worked on myself a lot so that I can have those conversations so smoothly. There's a lot of assumptions made when people start pointing fingers and talking about privilege and what you have or don't have. They can't speak for us individually, and I think that's really the problem here with this whole conversation piece around privilege. One end of the spectrum only looks at the generalization side, and the other side of the spectrum looks at the individual side, and no one's really looking at it in the middle. And as a result, you have people arguing with each other all the time. So I just really wanted to take a moment to talk about this and provide that perspective. Now, for me, when I hear about someone talking about privilege, or in my case, hear about people lecture about privilege to others, it sure feels that way. I just look the other way go about my daily routine and do what I need to do to get to where I want to go. That I know at an individual level is what's important. These discussions are important, I get it, but they're really not going to affect me in my world at my individual level significantly. If I want to go have a great career and make good money, I know what I need to do to get there. It's not about privilege, it's not about status, it's not about advantage. It's about doing what I need to do to get what I want. So for those of you watching, I hope you take some of this perspective to heart and apply it to your daily life. It's not about privilege, it's about strengths and weaknesses and figuring out what your strengths are and how to use that to the best of your abilities. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I also hope that you take some of this perspective to heart when it comes to talking about privilege. Guys, if you have a question that you'd like me to answer in a future video, go to my website, 101mentoring.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.